Hey everybody, welcome back to Foos Files, the podcast for fans of the Foo Fighters. How you all doing? The Take cover tour has it's reached a natural halt, I guess, really, until September. With the band over the past week, since the last podcast, they've played Philadelphia, Nashville and Washington DC, all coming thick and fast, all been very exciting by the sounds of things. As you know, we like to go into as much depth as we can with the tour. So I thought it'd be a good point this week to take stock and dip into the mailbag. So I asked you all to share your Take cover tour highlights so far from Europe back in June all the way through to this point in mid-August with the first leg of the North America run. And boy, you didn't disappoint with your messages. I've had lots of great experiences and highlights, which I'm going to go through shortly. I mean, from my point of view, there are several on different levels really, because there was so much about the Liverpool show that I've talked about already and will continue to do so because it was such a great day. But also following the other dates from afar and having your contributions, you know, some of the old faithfuls that chip in regularly on the podcast, to plenty of new voices too, sending in your voice notes and messages, etc. I've heard so many different perspectives, and you know, considering the show has been largely the same, there's a set format, there's not been too much variation in the set list. There has still been a lot of highlights and a lot of lovely moments that were unique to each show. So it's been really good to hear about those. So thank you to everybody who has chipped in so far with either a report after the show or this week answering my response to share your highlights in general. So let's dip into the mailbag, shall we? So I'm going to start over on Facebook on the Foos Files page, responding to the post that I put up. So we had Adriana Crawford Rhodes, who said her highlight was Dave seeing my poster of our picture from 1995 and then asking for it to be hung in their studio. So this was the Nashville show, and she shared a photo of her holding this poster. It's her posing with Dave, as she said, and it's got the words 1995 above it. And then below that, she has shared the video where she clearly looks like she's to the left of the B stage, and Dave's gone over there during Wheels, and you can see his animated facial expression when he spots the poster. I'd love to know, Adriana, whether that was your intention, that it was to be hung in their studio, or whether you meant that they did actually take the poster to hang up back at 606. Would love to know that, and if they have taken that to display. We've heard other stories of this before, where they've asked for flags and mementos from gigs from fans to take back and hang up in the studio. So hopefully yours is one of them, and thanks a lot for the message. We've got John Carston Jr. He says, my Take cover tour highlight is a no-brainer, just getting to see them live. My daughter and I had tickets for the 2020 tour. It would have been my first FF show. COVID cancelled that, and then we lost Taylor way too soon. I've seen a lot of live shows in my time, but I legitimately thought Taylor's death closed the window on me being able to catch Foo Fighters live. I was worried Foo was done, and the best I'd ever do is to see Dave in whatever he did next. Fast forward to Christmas 2025, and I open my daughter's gift. Cool, a Foo Fighters coffee mug. She knows how big a fan I am. Oh, and what's in the mug? 3 tickets to the Nashville show for me, my wife and daughter. I drove about 1,300 miles in less than 72 hours last weekend, fought the crowds, sweated my ass off. We argued a little, sometimes we argued a lot. And I wouldn't have traded the experience for anything. It didn't hurt that I also got to see Queens of the Stone Age, another band I've had in my list to try and see over the years. So my highlight of the tour so far, I got to do something I'd already made peace with the fact that I would spend the rest of my life remembering as the one that got away. That's brilliant, John. So pleased for you. And, you know, what a lovely gift from your daughter. And, you know, that feeling of finally getting to see them when you thought the the door had closed on that opportunity. That's really, really special. So again, thank you for your message. Makachokan, good friend of the podcast, who, again, a real highlight was getting to meet some of the pod regulars at Anfield, and Maka was very much one of those. She's been a big supporter of this since I started, and you'll have heard her voice on the show quite a few times. She's been to about 4 or 5 dates, I think, on the European tour. She said her highlight was being told by Dave that I shouted like I was in pain during Monkey Wrench, and getting my second wristband from him in Warsaw. Getting to witness Mentos Guy in Liverpool, shout out to my friend Mark, and getting to hear the Foo Fighters play Window and Unconditional, plus covering I Want You, She's So Heavy by the Beatles on Liverpool Night 2. Oh, and having my moments with Shifty while supporting his Hawaiian shirt trend. Yeah, so Shifty's Hawaiian shirts have come up quite a lot in conversation, certainly one of the talking points of the tour so far. Doug Cunningham says, watching Dave Grohl do a shot of Jaeger with a mom in the first row because her daughter had a sign asking him to do so. Fun interaction and made that family's night so special. So this is in reference to the Washington DC gig, Nationals Park, a couple of nights ago. And pretty much as Doug says, Dave interacted while he was on the B stage again with a mother on the rail, ever the observer of what's going on in the crowd. And yeah, served up some Jaeger for the two of them, which, as Doug says, will have made that person's night forever. Laura Thompson, in Nashville, seeing Foos for the 5th time. Dave seemed different. He seemed happier, joked a lot, and laughed more than I've ever seen him do at a concert. 101 degrees, and it was worth every bead of sweat. Then we've got a couple more of our regulars. Cheryl Feynman says, mannequin pussy shouting out, and then she's posted a row of hawk emojis, so presumably they reference Taylor during their support set. And all their Philly love in the link, Hometown Pride. And then she said Josh Homme singing Easy Street from the catwalk, like butter. And the return of Run, top tier Foo. Yeah, I don't think the support acts we've talked about enough, actually, because it's a massive deal getting Queens of the Stone Age. You know, Dave's old friends that have been intrinsically linked to the Foo Fighters over the years, and it's great to see them playing together again. Kim Hearn, who I've described previously as our roving reporter and contributor, so she's been here, there and everywhere in Europe and now America too. Vienna was tops, but this leg, Cleveland, rain, the heat, then this. So she's posted one of her photos of Dave kind of staring into the camera on his guitar. For context, you'll have heard previously, basically in Vienna, Dave recognised Kim and her husband Steve on the rail. There's this lovely video of this really animated expression when it kind of takes him by surprise. I think what she's referring to here in Cleveland, he spotted them again, and he's letting off this big smile while he's kind of leaning forward, playing a guitar lick. So another magic moment for Kim and Steve there. Back to Nashville with Erin Seamer. She's put Nashville, row 3, finally the promised land of the pit, which, yeah, it is just the best place to watch the Foo Fighters if you can get down there, isn't it? FX Joey, Anfield, UK, with my boy ticking off our bucket list. And then there's a picture of what looks like a mother and son trip to the Liverpool show, which is lovely to see. Brandon Wrigglesky says the rainstorm, the first 40 people in line in Cleveland waited in. And then, yeah, he's posted a video also with his post where they're under some kind of cover, but the rain is absolutely lashing it down. And, yeah, the weather does seem to be a feature of this tour because it feels like we've had just about everything apart from snow. We've had weather evacuations in Europe, we've had heat waves, we've had 100-odd degree temperatures. There were big gusts of wind when I first arrived in Liverpool on the day there, which wreaked havoc with my interviews a little bit. So yeah, this tour has kept the weatherman busy as well as everything else. Kevin Wen was also at Anfield for both nights, and his highlights were, of all people, Anfield Night 1, Window, Anfield Night 2. I mean, we've got into the politics of the new album and how much it's been played or not been played on this tour so far. So Kevin's obviously keen to highlight the songs he did get to hear. Cheryl Gant, another long-time listener, she says, Philly being perfect getting to the rail, perfect for old favourite Foo friends and new ones, Santa Nick handing out peppermint candy, and in the mosh pit for Queens of the Stone Age. Foo Crew just inside the barrier with the crowd. Madam Crown of Pat Smears, and hearing Wheels live for the first time. So that's quite a lot of highlights for Cheryl, but great to hear that she had such an amazing time at Philly. And as always, really appreciate her support for the podcast, because she's another person who messages me regularly when she's just finished the latest episode. So cheers, Cheryl. Jamie Bickerton Roselle says, saw the Detroit and DC shows. Both were amazing, but the DC show had a special vibe. More dancing and singing, and just that hometown Dave feel. These were my 5th and 6th time seeing the Foos, and they just keep getting better. And then we've also had a few references to the Nashville show for the fact that the Foos pretty much gave the stadium itself, the Nissan Stadium, a send-off of sorts. It was the final concert there. It's due to be demolished later this year to make way for a brand new stadium, which is going to be built more or less on the same site, I think. I believe there's still some NFL games remaining to be played there, the Tennessee Titans, before it basically gets demolished to make way for a brand new stadium. So the Foos played what's believed to be the final concert there. So that's a pretty big deal, and a nice moment if you were one of the people there to enjoy it. Mike Millerick, another good friend of the show, he says, fireworks. Highlight for me at any outdoor show is Everlong with fireworks. It always adds this amazing level to the finish. Yep, agree with that. I captured a really nice video at the end of the Liverpool show of the fireworks going off, and it is just the best way to end any Foo Fighters show. Dorothy Jean, she says, Philly. Dave's energy was amazing. Wheels on the small stage. Seeing Dave on the drums was my top moment of the show. Best part was that I went with my adult son, and it was nice to spend time together seeing my favourite band and introducing him to their live show. My son is also named Dave, and he's in a cover band that does a Foo song or two, and he was absolutely blown away. Yeah, I mentioned first timers to Foo Fighters shows. Another common theme is people introducing their kids or younger family members to the band, which is probably one of the reasons why they've stood the test of time, really, and are still packing out stadiums all these years later. Not to mention helping fans create really special family memories too, like the one Dorothy has just described. We've got Donna Martin, who's an old school fan I chat to regularly on the Foo Fighters Discord group. She says, hi, DC was just a bit too hot for most people, even after the sun went down. It was steaming. The crowd showed exactly which songs they loved, and from my vantage point, they basically stood still for the ones that weren't really rocking. The crowd was really every age group, which was great to see. The songs were 90% older, and I'm a fan of that, but not everyone is. First time seeing Ilan. Jesus, Mary and Joseph, that guy can play. Thanks for that, Donna. And yeah, if you have seen Ilan for the first time, I mean, seeing the clips is one thing, but getting to witness it with your own eyes is just an absolutely different beast altogether, whether it's him on the drums or on the guitar, which has come up many times with people talking about the band introductions. And then we've just got last few short, snappy messages from the Foos Files Instagram page. Kiri from Foo Fighters DB responded with her highlight saying, whenever they've actually played their new songs. And I mean, like me, as a fellow Foos content creator, she's followed every set list of every tour and kind of had a bit of a shrug really when you've looked at it and seen the lack of new songs in the list. But do you know what, mate? You've got your dates in Australia to come in a few months' time, so you never know. By then, they may well have chucked a few more in there, but I wouldn't bet my house on it by any means. It is the one elephant in the room, as we've said, that's followed this tour around. Nick Fletcher Harrison says, Dave's excited run onto the stage at the start of the gig. Every time. Yeah, I mean, even when you know exactly what's coming, that excitement when, you know, you can kind of hear the guitar strumming backstage, can't you? And within seconds he appears and does his sprint across the stage and then back to the mic to say, hey, and off we go and into another fantastic Foos show. It never gets old and it never will get old. Catherine Teufel from Germany, who you may remember from last week's episode, who sent us a message about her experience of travelling to the Toronto show. It's another vote from her for Shifty's Hawaiian shirts and the B-Stage acoustic set, so they're her highlights. Nicholas Spahn says, smiling Pat Smear. Yep, as I said in my conversation with Shauna last week, just in a world where there's lots of miserable stuff going on, just be more like Pat Smear. Smile lots, always look like you're enjoying yourself, and yeah, we can all learn a lot from that, can't we? Be more Pat. Everlong Echoes on Instagram says, Ilan on guitar, a monster musician on all fronts. Yeah, we've covered it off a lot, haven't we? The guitar drums swap between him and Dave. And you just can't speak highly of the man's talent enough, really. He's got to be one of the best all-round musicians in the world right now. Absolutely shredding it. Apologies if I messed the pronunciation up on this one, but I'll have a go. Roberta Vantagliato, who is an Italian fan, was at Milan on the 5th of July. Her highlight was Dave keeping the rhythm on his guitar while a girl was feeling unwell. Yeah, I do remember hearing about that one. They did have to temporarily halt the show while someone down the front got a bit of medical assistance. And by all accounts, Dave just kind of kept the mood calm while styling things out. So it's interesting that Roberta mentioned that one. And then last but not least, Karen Foosey from Foosey's Foo Fighters News says, one headlight. Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot again about the band introductions and that nod really to all the band members' previous careers. One headlight. I know it was a big hit in the 90s for the Wallflowers, but it wasn't a song I was massively aware of really until the Foo Fighters started doing this segment during the show. Probably because I was a bit young back then, and I don't know really if it made waves over here in the UK. But nevertheless, since they've been doing this, and also since experiencing it for myself in Liverpool, I haven't been able to get that song out of my head. And what I really want is an official Foo Fighters release. Not polished or anything like that, but with Dave just freestyling the words as he has been doing. I mean, you'd have thought he would have learnt the second verse by now, at the very least. But even so, it's just so funny when he's making it up as he goes along. And yeah, it's a real earworm of a song anyway, but also a really entertaining part of the show. And that is that on the Take Cover Tour mailbag. But, you know, the tour's not over. There's plenty of dates to go between now and the end of the year. Well, and spilling into next year now, because there's still a bit of Australia and New Zealand in the new year, and then South America to come too. And obviously we're expecting some more announcements for 2027. But yeah, the tour goes on. There's going to be lots more coverage of it on here as we keep an eye on what's going on at the various shows. So thanks for your contributions, but keep them coming wherever you are in the world. We rely on you really to bring the Foo Fighters experience to life. It's a show by fans for fans. And I love hearing your reports from the various different concerts. You know, you're not just about how the band's performance was, but your unique personal experiences too. And if you want to send us a message generally, you can do at foosfilespod@gmail.com and on social media at foosfilespod. So I'm on Instagram, TikTok and Facebook. Speaking of which, another thank you, because I've had a huge spike in social media followers lately, particularly since the European leg of the tour. I think Instagram's approaching 1,200 now, which is shot up drastically from where it was earlier in the year. Facebook's over 1,000, and then I'm kind of winging it a bit with TikTok. Admittedly, I don't really know what I'm doing with that platform. I'm still finding my way around it, but people are still following, so I've got a couple of hundred on there too. So don't forget to like or follow if you haven't done so already. And yeah, thanks to those of you who are already doing so. So that's it for another episode of Foos Files. Appreciate you sticking with me, talking at you, just me, no other voices, for a full episode once again. We'll get back to some more interview content next week. In the meantime, take care, and I'll see you next time.